Welcome back to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo, North America's largest EV festival, coming to a major city near you. And we are live. Electrification Eddy, right? So Eddy Denison, Eddy's calling from Florida, the land of so many boats and houses, Fort Lauderdale. So I was excited to get kind of your insight because you come from the yachting world. But electrification, when did that switch happen for you? Because normally we're talking about cars, we're talking about, scooters or bikes or electrification in general. When did that switch happen for you? Are you kind of an early adopter, or you saw somebody else do it and then you made the switch? But first of all, thank you so much for joining us here and educating us on electrification on water, which sounds weird, water and electricity. But go ahead.
Well, first, keep in mind every boat that you see has batteries, whether they're house batteries or, as we get into the electric boats, they are in these, I call them bomb-proof case boxes. They're IP certified. So there hasn't been any disasters, at least other than human error. But yeah, so I grew up in a yachting family. We've been around since 1948. We're very synonymous with the industry, with the city. And a couple of years ago, I got consulted to investigate a little bit into electric boats for a company, and went to Cannes Boat Show a couple of years ago and saw like a little peppering of this and that. Went back last year and it was like 10x. And so ever since then, I've noticed this change. It's not the whole market. It's a little bit of the market. And being a brokerage broker at my brother's firm, I was like, hey, I think this is going to take off. I really see a future. We didn't see eye to eye. He was focusing more on larger boats. And so I basically left and went over to Yacht Sales International, where I'm at now, left the family business to kind of pursue this. I like to say the hybrid electric solution, because, and we'll get into this later, but fully electric, I think we're not there yet, but hybrid electric, which Greenline is the only production company boat in the world that we represent that is doing this, is they're kicking butt and they're doing a great job, and it's got a sick product.
And so perfect segue. So you're saying, so is Greenline a boat for, I come into this very unknowing. I live in Southern California, but again, so many boats and yachts and down in San Diego and going offshore and all that. But what is Greenline? Greenline Hybrid, the future of responsible boating. That's their tagline.
Yeah, so basically they're a Slovenia company, and it's ironic because Denison, my brother's company, was the first person to represent them. It was a little too early. Udo, my boss now, is the top Greenline dealer that I work for in the world. And what they've done is they have been doing this since 2008, only production company in the world doing what they're doing. And they offer a hybrid electric version. And what it does is it gets rid of the worst thing that people hate on the boats, the generator. It's constantly, shaking and smelling. So you get rid of that. And basically, they put the electric motors on the shafts. The shafts turn to charge your battery, to make the diesel motors go. The props, they charge the batteries. They have solar coming in. So you don't need a generator at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at, there's a great visual here. There's 3 different options that I'm looking at right now: Greenline 39, 40, and 45, and a real simple graphic. And that's, boom, you said it, solar panels on the roof. There's a real easy and, rudimentary, or not even rudimentary. It's just a simple, easily digestible. And then you got hybrid mode and then anchor mode. So up to 3 days on anchor, appliances will run via the battery. So anybody looking at different options, this is crazy. So eDrive technology, it's simple. I mean,
yeah.
it
So the
looks
idea
really
is
easy.
Yeah, and we're on our 6th generation hybrid. So the idea is, when you're at the dock and you're going to go, let's say, to the Bahamas or maybe Catalina Island, if you're in the dock, you can't go very fast. You got bridges, you got wake zones. So why turn on the diesels? Why pollute the water? Why listen to the noise of the engines? You can, as my dad says, float out on the Holy Spirit and you leave. And then once you get to open water or speed zones, then once you hit 950, 949 RPMs, technically, you basically kick into diesel mode. So then you can go 24, 26, 28 knots, get to your destination, shut down the motors. You got solar coming in, and then you can run, as long as you're not that jack bleep that is like running the air conditioning at 61 degrees, every window's open, the TV's on. If you're responsible, then you can go, almost a weekend without plugging into shore power, and you can use your air conditioning, your TVs, and you're not, killing the environment at the same time.
Yeah, so you would need a slip with the correct power outlet. Like what does that look like as far as
So
charging or
simple, you can plug into like a single phase 30 amp. You can do superchargers, on that. We had a boat not even plugged in at the boat show, which we have next week for Miami, because we had solar coming in. Now we were keeping the air conditioning off during the day, on at night, but we went 4 days without having to plug it in at all. So if your batteries get low to like 20%, which is what they say, then either you plug it into your regular pedestal that every dock in the world has, it's just a slower rate, or you kick your engines on, get to about 1,000 RPMs, and then it takes about 30 minutes to charge from 20 to 80%. Then you shut it off, and then you can piggyback and get probably 1,200 miles on one tank of gas and one, cycle through.
yeah, that's yeah, I could see this being used on houseboats really, really well. I mean, just like you said, the solar. I guess you're running a little bit larger product, but who else is kind of in the room in the conversation? You talk about outboards like Mercury. They switched over. They're doing car engines. They're out there doing some pretty progressive stuff. Is anybody else kind of striking a fancy with you in this space? Electrification Eddy. So you got to own
Yes.
this, man. You got
Yeah.
you got to know it all, man.
I would say, my first love was always X-Shore, a Swedish company. They were the first ones that I basically noticed and worked with, that came out with an all electric boat, which is really cool because it goes, I think, 0 to 30 or 0 to 35 in like 4 seconds or something, which is like really fast on the water. And maybe a car guy that seems like grandpa slow, but on a boat, like you'll fall off the back. But you got foiling boats like Candela, Vision Marine. You have Frauscher, Faro, you have Alva, who we represent also, that's making a fully electric power catamaran that's like
Wow.
90 feet by like 40 feet. It's massive. I just saw Silent, I think, might be going out of business, which is good for us, but we'll have the first one next year. But again, it's all about making things simpler, making boats more enjoyable. It's going to be less maintenance that you're going to be spending on fuel change, fuel filters, oil changes, less fuel, less carbon footprint. The whole idea, like your last episode, is, finding the right tool for what you need. And
Mhm.
everyone wants, especially the government wants everything to change instantly overnight. And it's like, no, we need to create a snowball, or as my kids say, a Play-Doh ball. Everyone add to it, add to it. And as it gets bigger, we're all going to make some changes. So the idea is, if we have 10,000 boats on the water, and let's just say a portion of them right now are just regular diesel, but in 5 6 years now, maybe 15% are hybrid electric. Just think about that. When you leave the docks, how many boats are going to go off on electric? Or if you're only going to spend 4 or 5 hours or 8 hours on the water, you could go electric all day without ever turning your engines on. And so again, it's just little by little, we're going to help the planet. You're going to look cooler, just like cars. Everyone's a little nervous at first, but
Right.
now, like you've seen, people are doing crazy things with them. Racing Formula One, they're doing an offshore power electric boat race. Vision
Mhm.
Marine just broke the speed record, I think 135 miles an hour on electric outboards, which I think is going to be a massive future takeover. You're always going to have the guy that wants, 15 motors and all this stuff and, whatnot. But you're going to get to the point where people are going to be more realistic. Hey, I could have 4 motors instead of two, you know what I mean? But it's going to be quiet. It's going to help the planet, so
Yeah,
it's
you're
getting
hitting
there.
all the touch points that, I mean, obviously you have a car or a truck, you got to I mean, what a sick scenario. You got your Ford Lightning, you got your, either your X-Shore or your Greenline. These X-Shores are sweet. I love the like Scando kind of design, obviously.
And they
Um,
use cork. So that whole brown surface is cork that they get from
so cool.
Portugal to basically help the environment instead of using teak, because everyone uses teak. It's
Yeah.
limited. You know what I mean? So people are coming up with different ways, for different sustainability projects and materials.
Yeah, inspired by the American electric eel, creature defined by strength and grace. I'm just
Right.
looking at the colors. I mean, just aesthetically, it looks cool. But you wouldn't pull up next to it and be like, outside of it saying 100% electric on the side of it, you
Right.
wouldn't say that looks like an electric boat. And just that experience, like you said, either the charger or just the stank smell. Here's the 100% electric. So is this? Just educate me here. The X Shore, it's different than the Green Line because the Green Line is hybrid. Is the
So
X-Shore?
the Greenline makes a fully electric or a hybrid version.
Got it.
X-Shore is just electric at the moment. I know some other stuff I can't mention that's going on, but yeah, they're
Cool.
just electric right now. And being in Sweden, everything is 20 miles. So your range, each battery, and they have these massive, like 900-pound batteries, and there's two of them. Each of them give you about 50 nautical miles. And that's everything you need in Sweden. You got to remember, it wasn't built for the Americans. So when they come over here, they talk to people like me and some other people like, hey, how do we Americanize this? Because let's be honest, the Americans are buying the bigger boats. The Americans are really the buying force. It just sucks that America doesn't make boats anymore. My family
Right.
was building boats, Trinity, West, I think Westport and Palmer Johnson are pretty much the only boats manufacturers left that are making yachts. So a lot of these electric boats are like pleasure craft, smallers. This boat, the X-Shore, is great as a tender because everything's on a two-way rail system, which is modular. So you could remove all the decks, the chairs, the tables, or put chairs on there, use it for skiing. Wakeboarding. Baltari makes this sick-ass boat that, goes like 75 miles an hour. That's fully electric. You got Candela, also in Sweden, that has foiling electric boats,
Wow.
which is like now you're taking the foiling aspect of efficiency and adding the electric aspect of quietness. So everyone's doing something different. Like you said with cars, everyone's doing their thing or finding out, hey, how can I better make this for me or what I want to do? Whether, like, I think it was Larry Chen talking about going to Pikes Peak or a different race, you're going to need a different tool for a different experience, and are we at the point where I can take my electric boat, all electric, go to the Bahamas and come back? No.
Yeah.
Could it be done? Yes. Are we there? No. But could I
Right.
enjoy 8 hours on the water? Yes. But the future, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but the future, what we're doing now is I'm working with Greenline, and we're going to be putting the first it's not, I mean, there's many of them, but we're going to do an electric jet ski on our electric boat. So now you can charge your jet ski right into your boat. You don't even need to have gas, and those things fly. I mean,
That's
you're
sick.
talking 75, 80 miles an hour on some of these, or even faster on these, and it's just quiet. You're
Yeah.
just zipping by. So
That is
there's
so
a lot of
cool.
cool things that
Yeah,
you
and
can use.
so you're saying that'll be a green line chassis and hull and everything. So it's not, let's call it hot rodding a Sea-Doo or a Yamaha or a jet ski.
No,
You're
we're gonna
saying it's
we're gonna
exclusive.
partner up with an electric jet ski company that's already making them, and basically we're working right now on just the engineering of, okay, how are we going to plug this in? Because on some of the green lines, you do have generators for redundancy. Just because you have it doesn't mean you turn it on. But at the
Right.
same time, the more weight you add, the more power you pull, the less range. So, if you're going to build a boat with a fly bridge, you got to have a gyro because you're
Yeah.
adding weight. You need the gyro for stability. But what does that do? That kind of defeats the purpose of some of these things because you're pulling more energy, but it's a necessary evil. If it's not a fly bridge, you don't need it then. And then the reason you don't need it is because the batteries help keep the boat have a low center of gravity, so it sits in the water nice, so it won't roll as much, which eliminates the need for a generator, which takes away obviously from the efficiency of the boat.
I mean, I'm looking at the Voltari. I love your rattling all these off, but again, no, this is just food for thought. I'm not a big boat guy, so this is, my buddy had the V hull. Oh gosh, what's the, I don't know. He had a V hull. We go to Havasu. We go to Havasu, and he has
Okay,
what's
like
the,
a go fast boat, like a cigarette or
not a
midnight
cigarette, but gosh,
express.
what's the damn name of it? V hull, the fastest one, Fountain. He had a
Oh,
fountain. He had like
Fountain,
a
Reggie Fountain.
Reggie Fountain. So yeah, but these are all names that are foreign to me, and like you said, not a lot of boat manufacturers in the States. A lot of Scandinavian going through the fjords and all that. So looking at X-Shore, really, I mean, this is a, let's just call it what it is. If you want a sexy looking electric boat, the Voltari is sick. I mean, it
Yeah,
looks
the color
really on
schemes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great people. They're doing some poker runs. They're doing kind of some more, experimental advertising. There's a company I'm working with out in California by Mavericks that actually did the very first ever electric jet ski pull into Mavericks with the surfer. So
Really,
they're getting to the point now where they're working with Red Bull. They have military contracts, so I mean they're doing some really cool stuff that I can't really talk about yet, but I am involved with them, and we're working with some different boat companies. Because the future, like I said, if you're not in the next 2 or 3 years, and I've heard this at like boat shows for the last 5 years, and it's all bullcrap. But if you're going to be serious about the future, you got to get a hybrid electric option because people want both. They have
Yeah.
range anxiety with just electric. The infrastructure sucks. I'm working with a company now to try to lay infrastructure charging stations, like supercharging stations at strategic restaurants. So you go to the restaurant, have a drink, have some, food, 30 minutes, your boat's charged, you go, everyone goes to that restaurant, they're happy, the company puts it in for free and put it from West Palm Beach to Miami so you can get up and back, in
Love it.
one day if something were to happen. So
Yeah.
I think the move there is going to be important, and people need to offer the hybrid. And if something happens, you're late, the weather sucks, you know what? Let's click it, get the hell out of here, put it in
Yep.
diesels and go. And just because you have them doesn't mean you have to use them. But if everyone would do that, just leaving the dock to the ocean would reduce quite a bit and would make the left, the right, the center, whatever, everyone happy because we're all doing it, we're all enjoying it. And the whole idea is to enjoy it. But the one thing I've noticed is you got to be quiet now because if you're like talking about somebody, they can hear you on these electric boats because now the rumbling and all that stuff's gone. I was making fun of a buddy of mine. He was like, "What was that?" I was like,
Oh,
"Holy crap!" So
Eddie, come on, man. You're selling the product, but you're not selling yourself here. You're selling yourself short. Don't talk smack around your friends. I
right.
mean, as far as like a sexy and attractive boats, the Van Dutch. I mean, you see the aesthetic of that boat. I mean, it's like the Cybertruck boat, like the Van Dutch 75 or 32 even.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Yeah, but that's why I say you kind of boats is a status symbol, right? So,
Yeah.
but also now if you talk about power plants, you mentioned a couple of times your kids, talking about Play-Doh ball and all that stuff, but your kids need an ocean to swim in. So
Hmm.
take care of it, man, because it sounds like you're touching all the notes of responsibility as far as taking care of the planet, not reliable on fossil fuels, but you're also saying, hey, there are safety nets in place. Like you said, there is a
Yeah,
diesel
like on the
engine.
X-Shore, and I'm sure my boss loves me talking about them, but they have a watch, which a lot of our companies, Greenline's working on it now too, where you put safety controls. So if your kid goes out, you can't go faster than 20. If you fall in the water or something happens, it
Yep.
shuts the engines off because you can't hear it. And the best thing is when you're selling these boats, especially like with cars, you'll run in when selling cars. Hey man, just highway miles, right? And now, you're able to print everything off the computer. How fast did this guy go? Every speed. Was there a sensor? Was there a callback, a recall, an update? You can't lie. You know what I mean? It's going
Yeah.
to help. Insurance is going to get, right now a few companies are starting to accept him, because we're selling a lot of green lines, obviously, but it's taking a while for them because like they're being cautious. Like when Tesla came out, everyone's looking from afar. Once the first people like the Apple goggles, it's like, okay, you got to go through that first generation, to do it. But luckily,
Mhm.
Greenline, we're on our 6 generations. We've kinked out a ton of bugs. We put thousands of hours into these boats before they see the public. We just came out with a 58-foot boat. So it's going to be an exciting time the next few years when you see a lot of these companies starting to come out with their boats. They're starting to come over. 2 years ago, they were in design stage because it seems like Con is like the big boat show over there with Fort Lauderdale being over here, and you see the new technologies. I want to go to Metz over in the Netherlands and see the different things, but you see it from the big boys and it trickles down. They have autonomous hydrogen methane ships, cargo ships now. So everything will work its way down to the smaller boats. But we're getting to the point now where technology is just getting there. Solar is just at its decent point where it makes a difference. The batteries are getting smaller, charging better, faster. We're using less kids to make the products. I
Yep.
joke. That's probably a bad joke. But what I mean, and we want to get away from that, obviously. But
Yeah.
but the idea is we have this awesome plan, as you can see around me. We want to keep it for our kids and grandkids. And the oceans are important too. We know for what less about our oceans than we do our own moon. So
Yeah.
the whole idea is let's give it off to the next generation and give them something, like your mom says, when you go somewhere, clean it, make it nicer than when you had it.
Yep.
When you leave the place, make it nicer. So at least we're going in the right direction. It's not going to be solved overnight, but if everyone can chip in, everyone can share technology, work together, we're not trying to take over the world, but we're trying to take over a market segment that wants this.
Yeah.
People want it, the government's forcing it down our throat, so you might as well join ship or get left behind.
Yeah. No pun intended with the ship thing. I'm looking up the article and just found up. I was intrigued by, you're talking about Mavericks, and this was back in this is back in 2021. The
Very
Maverick
recent.
GT, the wild new electric jet ski that can surf giant waves. It is a $500,000 project, but it goes 70 miles per hour, converts to a rib. This is a Rob Report article. I mean, the thing looks slick,
Hmm.
so it plays
Can
the
hold
part.
4 people, go 80, I think up to 75 or 80 miles an hour.
Yeah,
They
I
do a
mean,
ton
it's
of stuff for the military, like with special ops and stuff, so they know exactly what they're doing. It's really cool. We're working with them. Don't say the name, but working with them
yep,
and a few other boat manufacturers on putting a hybrid electric system into their boat, which I think would be a huge, game, move a step forward
yeah,
for some of these other
yeah,
manufacturers that want to offer something different. Everyone, you have those pods that rotate, the azapods. People didn't like them because if you hit them and broke off, it was expensive. Maintenance. Jet drives is another one. Different option besides your shaft and props. So you give people different options. If you're in the Great Lakes, you want IOs. If you're in Florida, you want outboards. You know what I mean? So different things for different elements, but at least everyone is kind of making something. So no matter where you live, you have an option to do something that is cool and unique. And plus, it's nothing better than rolling in on an electric boat and people just looking at you like, engine trouble, huh? Like floating in, like, no, no, everything's on. You know what I mean? Like, no, we're cool.
right.
We just have a cooler boat than you. So it's more of like it's getting there. It's just people need to educate. At every
Yep.
boat show, you'd be shocked how many people are like Greenline. I mean, like we've been around since, or they've been around since 2008. So it's
Mhm.
like, what do you mean you've never heard of us? And is that marketing? Is that just because people aren't interested? But every boat show, it's more and more and more, and it's a certain type of client, and they're climate conscious. They want the new iPhone, the new toy.
Yep.
I mean, electric cars, as you know, is awesome. I have a friend that's converting an old VW Beetle and you got the Tesla battery package. I'm like, you have to put like a wheelie bar on that thing or whatever. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like
right?
just like he's building this whole frame inside, but it's like going to be, I told him I'll never drive with him ever in that thing. But
That
it's
I
cool
think
that you
that
can
sounds
do
like a
that.
person problem more than a car problem.
Yeah. I'm
I
like,
think
you have
it's
a death wish? Like,
more the guy
but it's
behind the
like,
wheel.
yeah, but it's like, but at least you can do these kind of projects and you're able to do it with solar, with Alva. If you look up Alva, ALVA, they're out in Turkey and they're doing, since a catamaran has so much exterior space, it's like, Sunreef and Silent doing the similar thing, but it's like, let's put all these solar panels on there. Then we have electric motors. We got a generator, which is like a range booster, and a redundancy. And you have all this square footage of solar, and you can run that boat transatlantic probably, as long as it's sunny, and you could store the
Yeah.
batteries anywhere you want. You eliminate the need for an engine room. It's more like a battery room, and it's gotten to the point where you can even control and monitor battery cells. So on the Greenline, there's 6 cells to each battery. And if one battery cell goes bad, you can actually replace it for like $500 instead of waiting for it to screw up and fail. And then all of a sudden you got an $18,000 battery replacement. But technology has gotten to the point where it's pretty hands free. Any fires you've seen are human error, whether they're
Right.
Chinese components or someone left, something plugged in too long or this. It's not because lithium batteries, oh my God, they're fire. Everything's in
No,
bomb-proof boxes.
that's
It's a
been proven.
misnomer.
That's been proven, as you say. That's user
Yeah.
error, man. And yeah, the fragility of some manufacturers over others. But if you're gonna build an ice car and an oil line breaks and you're spraying oil, that happens again on boats. This brings up an interesting question. I'm looking at those Alvas here, and just again, you've dropped some amazing names here, and would love to obviously plug the ones that you work with more intimately, which is obviously that of was it Greenline, right? So
Yeah, Greenline and Alva are
yeah, Alva, super sick. But I what I think here is, doing this podcast and gaining some knowledge is the car world is a little more apprehensive of kind of making that switch. I think the boating world, because you are one with water, it's a little more organic, right? And
mhm.
the technology has an opportunity to be a little more progressive because of the consumer is looking for slick, efficient experience. Yeah, you don't want something loud. Look at this Alva 90, the Ocean Echo 90. This thing is amazing. It looks so good. So being on that boat, that experience, it is a luxury. But then let's dumb it down even further. The Duffy. I went to
The Elko
Newport.
Duffy.
Right?
You
The
know him in
electric Duffy.
California.
Yeah, we know. I was down. We did the boat parade in Newport Beach, and we were on the tiki boat, which is loud and proud. It's a double 2-story tiki boat. You've
Awesome.
seen it. But
Yeah.
anyways, I say that because the Duffys rip around and you can't see them. You don't know who's behind the wheel, and it's usually, let's not get the Coast Guard involved here, but they
Right.
had a couple libations and they get in a little trouble there or something like
Get a
that.
road
But
soda.
yeah, a little road soda, but there's technology that's been implemented since 1970, right? So
Hmm.
I say all that: old school, new school, true school, meaning be true to the game, man. Because I think there's a big opportunity with the technology that all these manufacturers, which are primarily not in the States,
Well,
why is that?
that's a great question. I feel like Americans were we I wish I had an answer. I don't
No, it's
know. I don't know because we basically started this industry over here. We were building better boats. I mean, obviously you got Lursen and Dom and Amels and Fedship and Heeson, which are the biggest ones in the world. But they're American buyers. But America was building some good boats. I mean, Delta's still up in the Northwest. Trinity was building boats. Broward, my family, we built more boats than anyone, I think, in the 90s in the world.
wow,
But the luxury tax in '92. I'm a Republican, but damn it, Bush. Or yeah, was that Bush? Killed us. In
yeah,
'92 when they did the luxury tax, it wiped out the whole marine industry. Luckily, COVID, by the grace of God, revamped the whole industry. Although now everyone thinks they're getting more for their boat than they should be, and now that's a whole other conversation of like, let's calm down, people. That was a glitch in the system, which was great, but let's be a little bit more realistic with stuff. But at least, like I said, things are going in the right direction. There's more excitement for it. You're going to see a lot more things. America's Cup with the foiling. It's just everything is going in this space technology direction. It's almost crazy to keep up with, but it's exciting every year to see something new, something different. I just hope America gets behind it. I know that they're trying to bring all these wind farms in and all these other there's companies even sending their boats to us to Jones Act them because for the Jones Act I think from port to port you have to have an American built ship, so they're sending over their boats to be finished in America to be Jones Act to then field
interesting.
tend to the wind farms instead of us making our own boats and doing them. But it's all in Washington D.C. But hopefully, we America will get the desire to start building some bigger boats, some more efficient boats, and compete with the rest of the world. I think
Well, it
people are
sounds
ready for that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've had your finger on the pulse from just being kind of a legacy. You're talking about your family manufacturing boats and all these things, and the progression here. What are you excited about next? It sounds like it's all right there. It's now just like
Getting
like
the product out there. It's
yeah.
we have a great product at Greenline. Alba, when we get one, we should be getting it next Flibs next October.
Which
It's gonna
model?
it's gonna blow away everything.
Yeah.
Silent, and I know the designer Sunreef is great, but this is just a special product. I think that Damen makes the pontoons. I mean, they're the biggest commercial shipbuilder in the world with military and commercial in the Netherlands, family operated business. So we got the right people, German engineering, the craftsmanship in Turkey. A lot of people are building in Turkey nowadays. So I'm excited to finally have a good product to display and show. It's what people want,
Yeah.
and with Greenline and Alba, you'll notice just because you're getting like a Prius doesn't mean you can't get a Bugatti at the same time. So it's like just because you have technology doesn't mean you're sacrificing on fit, finish,
Hmm.
performance. No, you can have, Greenline, 3 different colors of interior. You can have different options. So you're not only buying a smarter, more efficient, manageable boat, but it's still just as good as, the Azimits, the Benettis, and all these other people. You're not sacrificing on fit and finish just because you want to be nicer to Mother Earth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this Green Line, the 48. I mean, that is a stout boat. And just for anybody out there on the boat market, what's price point compared to something comparable with the traditional setup?
You're looking at, I think the 45, you're looking at about 1.5 million in that kind of range. The 40 is about 900 grand. So they're pretty comparably priced. It's a little bit, sometimes they're a little bit more expensive because of the batteries, inverters, the different systems that you get in there, but you will save over the lifetime of the boat the difference, because you're going to be spending less on fuel. You're going to be spending less on different parts, on different maintenance. If you go to the Bahamas for a week and you come back, got to service your generator. You've been running it for 200 hours, been running AC all the time. Who wants to do
Yeah.
that? So you eliminate that service that has to get done once a month. You know what I mean? So it might be a little bit expensive at first, but we're pretty comparable in price. It's not like, one boat is 800,000 and ours is 2 million. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you are going to pay a little bit of a penny. I think the hybrid system alone is close to $1 million on the 58. So it just depends what you want to do, but they're probably anywhere from 900,000 on the 3940, and I think the 58 is hitting like around 3.5 million. I think right around there,
Yeah,
depending
they're
on the options you get. And
yeah,
if I'm
and
running
obviously,
that.
yeah, and with trim, I mean, it is a luxury item, so you kind of want that whole experience, from the tactile experience of just sitting there. You're kind of like, okay, power plant, whatever, just as long as it runs. You kind of
Right.
want that peace of mind. What do you think? You talked on it briefly about, I've done some stuff with Sail GP up in San Francisco, but now this E1 racing, Steve Aoki's involved. Tom Brady's got a team. I know I announced Nitrocross, and our team that does the production, they do the production for this E1 racing. Is there something that can be implemented there as far as technology, innovation, or just maybe shedding a little bit of light on EV marine?
I think what they need to do, and one of my buddies, Mason, works with U.S. Sailing, does the Olympic and the Sail GP. The things it's so cool.
Yeah, they're
I
bitching.
love that kind of stuff. But I would say what they need to do is educate the public now what they have, kind of like pepper it, and then spring off. It's people are expecting a very comparable, like Formula. I mean, E and versus Formula One. At least it's not like bicycles and Corvettes. At least
Yep.
it's comparable. Right now with boats, I would hate to have something, because there's just nothing. There's nothing there, in my opinion, where they're contracting at Vision Marine out of Canada. They're the only one that's really going all in on just like fast electric outboards and all that other stuff. But with the technology and everything, you know, I don't know too much about it, but I don't know if that will take off as much as the cars and the regular recreational boating. I hope it does. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. I think it'd be really cool I'm working with someone, interested in starting an offshore power boat circuit with electric boats, which I
Really?
think would be really killer. So I'm not opposed to it, but what's the market share on that? You know what I mean? Not being negative
Yeah.
Nancy. It's just like, okay, we're having a tough time, not tough time, but a slow time moving these boats along, or educating people, and then to overstep that and go that, to me, it's not something I'm keeping the pulse on, to be honest. But I
No,
like
but I like you play devil's advocate with yourself, by the way. I got to look. I feel like Electrification Eddie is just like, yes, Eddie. What do you say,
right,
Eddie? Like, I
a
feel
lot
like
of
you,
voices.
yeah, exactly. No, and I appreciate that, because you're being honest with the equity that you have seen. I mean, let's be honest. Sail GP, it's wind powered. So, you talk about wind farms, you talk about, I mean, those things are, we weren't allowed to say it when we did the video, but they're Formula One on water, and
Yeah.
they're takedown versions of old America's Cup boats. And now look at America's Cup, that technology. I mean, that's just whole design. That's just, I mean, it's
Who's got more money?
they're the F1.
Right, right. I always tell my dad, I would love to see those guys race like an old 1850s schooner or something, just to see a true, like, you know what I mean, with the people hanging over the side, instead of just having this rocket ship that's going faster than like some of these go fast boats. It's like insane,
Yep.
it's bad. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's badass. You were gonna say it. It's all right. I
Yeah.
mean, don't need a full on cuss here. It's it's badass.
Right.
I've said that in Hot Wheels videos before. So, taking a look just at, like I said, the Alvas. Anything else like manufacturer wise, or anybody else doing some really cool stuff? Like you said, Greenline and Alva. But I like how you're even just rising tide lifts all boats. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Um,
right. I
I
mean,
saw
I
your
would
I saw
say.
your dad joke, by the way. It's going to be electrifying. I saw your
You
post.
saw that? Okay, I couldn't help it. I'm turning into my dad. surprisingly, which in
every
some
day.
ways is good, in some ways is terrifying. But I would say to look out for more manufacturers getting involved into this. I think at first, they were looking at it like, that's a trend that's going to pass, going. But I think, you know, diesel outboards just took way too long to develop, unfortunately. And, why would you go to diesel when you have an electric one? And, there's 4 or 5 manufacturers that out there that, Flux, Vision Marine, Evoy, that are doing electric outboards. And I think that's going to be a huge factor. I think you're going to see more electric jet skis, more electric outboards. I shouldn't say this, but like someone will probably steal my idea, but I don't care. At least I approve of it. But
We're putting it on record right now. That's what we're
okay.
doing, electrification, Eddie.
So what I want to do is I've been talking to some pontoon manufacturers, putting electric outboards on the pontoons. If you're lake locked, like it makes sense. Yes, there are pontoon boats that go like 80 miles an hour or 100, but let's be honest, that's not for the average person. But you know what I mean? If you're going to use it once a week, why not have a couple of electric outboards, batteries in there? It just makes so much sense, and we're ready for that. You put a hard top on, you put battery, solar, you put inverter, a couple batteries, even if it's just for your house systems. I mean, it's all about eliminating a little bit at a time. You're not going to make the whole boat this, but you know what? If I could take 10% away and make it electrified, and that's 10% less going in the water or this and that, and times 10,000 boats, that's where you're going to see real change. It's not going to
Yeah.
be this, magical battery pack that, Elon invented in his basement. Like that we're not going to see that. You know what I mean? Yes, there's going to
Yeah.
be steps, but right now work with what you got. Make it efficient, make it friendly, make it easy to use, easy to maintain. Xshore basically locks their engine rooms because they don't want it open, because when you opens, you get water, you get salt water. That's
Yep.
where things go bad. Keep it airtight, keep it shut. And most of the service on these boats can be done through the cloud. So it's not
Yeah.
like you have to take your boat in anymore to redo it. It's done over the cloud, and they can get into your system. They can track what you're doing. They're not like illegally doing it, but I'm just saying they can monitor everything and see exactly what's going down. Greenline is going to be coming out with somewhere you could start your boat from your house, to get it started. You can dim the lights. There's so much technology that's coming that's going to be used to help that along the
And
way.
even looking at your, your social media, I did some research on you and just taking a look at it. You posted up the cigarette super yacht. It's here's Greenline Yachts or Alva. You're saying, hey, let's call it out. And that's, like I said, it's healthy. You're still a boat guy. So you're not just completely denouncing. You like hot rods, you like cool stuff. You're talking about your buddies, Bug being EV. And we're at this tipping point. I mean, I'm 45 years old. It's like we saw cassettes, we saw CDs, we saw them come and go. Now you don't even, it's boom, it's in the cloud, right? It just
Yeah.
exists. So we're at this cusp of, like you said, looking at your social media, you got your kids, and it bears repeating that, your kids are like, why is it so loud? And they kind of want quiet, especially given, I got a 9-year-old that, you know, went through COVID 6, 7, 8, right? And that changed the whole mindset. I think there's a big opportunity here. Education, information, exciting, because anybody that drives an EV, drives one, is like, holy cow, now on the water, bro, give me the keys. You know what I'm talking about? That jet ski
It's a
sounds
huge
insane.
It's a huge difference. There's a couple of good jet ski companies. There's one that I'm working with that has the only patented removable battery pack. So when you're done with like the
Boom.
formula car, you just instead of switch a car, you just pop the battery out, put one in, you know what I mean? And off you go. So you don't have to sit there, wait 30 minutes or buy double the jet skis. It's just like,
Yep.
hey, I'll buy 5 jet skis, 10 batteries, and just cycle them out. I
That
mean,
makes
it
sense.
makes so much sense.
And it's just that conditioning, right? Because I mean, here, my the closest thing, I have friends who have boats, right? And it's obviously,
Mhm.
right, the 2 days, the day you buy it, the day you sell it. Jokes. But
Right,
anybody, it's like when you have a truck, you're like, I got a friend with a truck,
right.
I'm the
Got to
truck
move
guy.
something.
Yeah. So, but my buddy who lives in Long Beach, he's got a slip. He's got a great center drive boat. He goes fishing, him and his boys, and they'll go down to Mexico and stuff. He would be a perfect candidate for, say, right? Would it be a no, not a Volterra. Would he be a Greenland? No,
Xshore.
Xshore. He'd be like an Xshore guy.
Yeah,
You
because and
know?
actually, what's funny is me and the company that hired me to consult, and when we went over to Sweden, we helped them design a fishing box
Yep.
so you could slide it on their rails. Because I told them, I said, Americans want what? Cup holders, cup holders, loud noise, speakers, rod holders, and lights. Other
Yep.
than that, we don't give a bleep. That's all we
Yep.
care about. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
cup holders. How many cup holders? That's the first question I get asked all the time. How many cup holders? I'm like, life jacket? No, no, cup holders. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. How many do you need? I'll put
That's
more
that
in.
conditioning. That is that conditioning, man. And but I say that because, instead of, oh, we got to go fill up, because again, his boat's in Long Beach. We go out to Long Beach Grand Prix and we'll just tootle around the islands
Who's
there.
paying
But
for fuel? Are you? Are
yeah,
you the guest? Is he? Is
holy
his boat?
cow. But he'll
It ain't
plug
cheap
in,
if it's
right? It's
not.
like a battery tender. You could plug in. It's a battery tender. It's conditioning. Go out. I mean, Catalina's got to have some slips with chargers, and like you said, there's that infrastructure. Makes sense in Florida, obviously up the coast. Go to
Yeah.
the Keys, go north, go here, go there.
And
Um,
when you plug in, I worked with one of the generators, one of the engineers at Xshore, and we calculated to go from like 20 or 10 to 80% was $13 on your power bill.
boom.
On the
And
slow
how
charge, single
much is it
phase
to
30
fill up your
amp.
damn boat right now, man? Holy cow! What's
Right.
financing
Versus
rates?
100 gallons at what, $4 to $6, $7 a gallon.
Do the
And you know what I
math.
mean? And you're doing the same amount per day. Is there everyone's gonna do what? They're gonna go to a restaurant, they're gonna go to a sandbar and sit there with your engine running and munning versus being electric, it's all silent. You know what I mean?
What?
Or, you have a tender tow behind, and we worked with them too to also create as the propeller gets towed behind, why not use that to charge your batteries?
Wow.
Hello, they never even thought of that. So they're working on that as we speak. So, it's like,
This is so eye-opening to me because to be quite honest, some I bring in some guests and then Electrify will book guests and they booked you and I saw your thing and I was like, okay, all right, boats, I don't know. We'll see. And you've I'm not a skeptic by any means, but I don't own a boat. I'm not a big boat guy unless it's my buddy's boat and we're having beers and tootling around or we're ripping around like my buddy, his dad, Cletus McFarland, his dad, has an amazing boat, Fin and Tonic, It's beautiful. He has a couple of them in Florida, but you've absolutely shifted minds here. And anybody that's not even into boats, I hope they're listening to me like, that's awesome,
and that's
because
that's one thing I've noticed is we've had so many people come up and say, "I own a Tesla. Never in my life would I ever own a boat until I realized, wait, like on the X Shore, you literally plug it in like a Tesla.
Mhm.
Greenline, you have to plug it into the pedestal, but still, the whole idea is everyone's afraid of a boat. Every time because they get on a boat, something breaks. It just seems like every experience I'm sure you have one too. Friends come out,
Yep.
hey, and the boat breaks down. It's just inevitable, and you're
Yep.
kind of eliminating this so it's more enjoyable because there's something in our DNA, with cars, horses, water, like exploring. Like when you're on the water, you just feel like you're Magellan, like you're going to find hopefully a square grouper or, maybe, some treasure. But it's just there's something in our DNA that screams adventure and, maybe I'm going to survive, maybe I'm not,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's
it's
a little
exciting.
granola. It's a little granola being on the water. I always joke that if you order Jason Momoa on Wish, you get me. My name's Jared Mimosa. And I'm in that movie Aquaman. But that's my that's my bad dad joke. It's my rip on me. But it feels a little granola. You're taking care of the ocean, like you said. Leave it better than you found it. We're stewards of this planet. People that are on the water, I hope they take care of it. And obviously, it does get abused. You go to Havasu, it's a party, but I could see one of these boats being fire at a lake or in the ocean, man. And I think it's really cool, and I love the branding of what you're doing and the equity you have. I think really feeds into here's your kind of legacy from your dad, from your brother, and you educating yourself with the internal combustion engines and diesel, and now converting to this and
Yeah.
converting into this. It's a beautiful story. It sounds like a love story that you love the ocean, you love the boats, you love the craft. But what does this look like progression wise? And I think you're doing a good job. Electrification Eddy, baby. It's
I mean,
you
listen,
changed me, dude. Like I'm in.
we're selling depreciating useless assets that no one needs. Let's just be blunt. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Yes, they are memories, but no one needs a boat. You know what I mean? No one, just like no one needs a third car or like a Corvette or something in their car. But you know what? We work our ass off so
Hmm.
we can have these fun things. And some of my greatest memories are on the water. And obviously, I was lucky enough to have been in a family that I was born. But if you know you're an Andretti, I'm sure your view on cars and car racing is a little bit different than the average person. So I was able to have that behind the scenes growing up. Like the shipyard was my playground. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which probably wasn't the best sometimes, but at the most part,
You're
shaped my
here.
brother and I. I mean, my brother has, just sold one of the largest yachting brokerage firms in the world. And my dad gave him the business in 2001. And when the internet was just coming about, my brother was like, I got this idea. You hear it's like horse, like when the cars were coming to New
Dick
York, he's like, hey,
Kennedy.
Dad. And my dad's like, horses, son. Cars are stupid. So my brother's like, I think this internet thing is like going to catch on. My dad's like, you're an idiot. Like, this, no, people are going to want to touch the boat and all this stuff. Next thing you know, my brother is as the largest in the world. I mean, it's amazing, and he hit
That's
it
great.
and invented internet marketing. So I look at it as I'm the only Denison that hasn't like put their thumbprint on the industry, so to speak, with my grandfather, my dad, my brother, my uncles. So it's like I see a path and I'm like, this, I see a future in this. And I'd love to be known in 20 years as one of the people to help bring this industry, to the forefront. Not to say like, whoa, without me. But it would just be nice to be
Yeah.
associated with like, hey, I saw this coming. I jumped on. And I see us moving in that direction, whether we like to or not. Government's going to force us, so
Yeah.
might as well
It's
get ahead of the game.
yeah, you bring up so many points of your journey, both personal and professional, as far as the boat world, the boat space, what you got going on. And like I said, anybody listening to this who's involved with EV might have been skeptical, or like, how did they come across this? I think you're talking to consumers, and you're talking to people, like you said, that are early adopters, that are in EV, that would never. I love it, man. So thank you so much for your time. Well, anything else you kind of want to plug? Where can they find out more information?
You could
What's your
go
dealership, or what do you got?
You can go to yachtSalesInternational.com. You can look up Eddy Denison. We're actually having a party next Thursday at our Fort Lauderdale office during the Miami Boat Show. We got Lucid and my boss going to kill me. What is it? Riviana?
Rivian.
What's Yes,
Rivian.
Rivian.
Which
They're
which
going to
is
be
which you know what? I like that you didn't know the manufacturer's
sorry.
name. No,
I,
it's
I
fine,
could
because
spell it. I just
Rivian. Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
But
I
but
just
but I
didn't want
think
to like botch it. My boss is probably like, God damn.
no,
But
it's
they're
all
going to
good.
be there. We got the street blocked off. We got all the green lines, food. So if you're interested, do I get my phone number? Or you could, Eddie at yachtsalesinternational.com, EDDY
Yep.
at yachtsalesinternational.com. I'll get you some boat show tickets, get you
So
tours,
good.
food, get you drunk, get you on some boats. I'll tell you, my boss bought a Lucid, and I've been in a Tesla, and he put me in a Lucid. And the Tesla, you get that thing, but the Lucid was like, whoa, like yeah, yeah, it was weird. It was a
Good.
different experience, and nothing against Tesla, but I think Lucid's a better product, and it's like it was a nicer car, but it was definitely faster, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but
Well,
maybe you got to take on that.
that
But
touches on, again, the consumer, and you quoted myself and Larry Chen, or and every like, again, Matt Farah, all these certain cats. But whatever your boat is, okay. So Alva Yachts, right? You got Xshore, uh, Duffy, right? What are you trying to accomplish here? The Voltari,
yeah, you want to go fast and ski? Do you want to go
the
see the
Greenline.
whales in Alaska? Do you want to go to the sandbar? Do you want to go just
It's
beat the
awesome.
hell out of the ocean and go fast as you want? There's a boat out there,
Yep.
and if not, if you got enough money, we can build one for you. Trust
There
me,
we go. I got a guy. I got a guy. His name's
I know
Electrification
that.
Eddy, baby. EDDY. Don't you forget it. Why? Because we like you. Eddy, thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us here. Some great insight, very honest, very transparent. And again, I'll be down there in Fort Lauderdale. We're gonna go out in one of these green lines, and
Yeah,
just pick it.
yeah.
How many cup holders do you have, though? I'm joking.
Or if you want, we can go on the Voltari. I know them too.
Ooh,
If
let's
you
go
want to
to
go fast, there's nothing wrong.
yeah,
The green
love
line's
it.
more of slow and luxury, but if you want to go fast, we can get on an X Shore or Voltari. I even we set up a race with them 2 boat shows ago, just to have fun. They went out there and kicked their ass. So
Well, I
but it
think
was
we can play. Yeah, we can play yacht rock on either, and I'm totally cool because I'm into some yacht rock, so that's all good. Thank you
let's
so
do it.
much. Electrification Eddy. This is another episode of Electrify Expo. And obviously, I want to see some of these boats at Electrify Expo. Thank you so much, Electrification Eddy. Thanks for listening to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo. Be sure to catch full video episodes on YouTube at Electrify TV and follow along on social media for daily clips and more.